A president's death, a blocked burial. And now investors are watching closely, man, because what happens next could shake Zambia's future. Watch this to understand the power struggle beneath the surface and what it means for you. And if you care about African leadership, politics, and honest analysis, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a reset.
What if the death of a former president wasn't the end of a political story but the start of a governance warning? In Zambia, the passing of Edgar Lungu has not led to peace but to confusion, legal battles, and national tension. As the burial remains stalled by court orders and public debate, the world is starting to ask difficult questions. What does this crisis say about Zambia's institutions, and how does it affect the country's reputation in the eyes of investors, citizens, and the African diaspora? Edgar Lungu, Zambia's sixth president, died on June 5, 2025 in Pretoria, South Africa. His presidency, which lasted from 2015 to 2021, was one of the most polarizing in Zambia's modern political history. But now, even in death, Lungu's legacy continues to divide the nation. The family insists on a private burial, claiming the right to mourn in dignity. The government demands a state funeral, citing the need to honor his constitutional role. And in the middle stands a South African court that has legally halted the burial, forcing the country into a prolonged public standoff. But this is no longer about burial preferences. It is about who has the final say in matters of national legacy and what that says about the strength or fragility of Zambia's democratic systems. The African Reset community has been actively discussing this. One viewer asked, how could Zambia announce his death when the hospital records indicate he is Zimbabwean? That single comment, which received 12 likes, has opened a wave of new questions. Was Lungu truly Zambian by birth? And if not, what does that mean for the years he served as president? Another layer of the conversation centers around President Hakainde Hichilema, popularly known as HH. He has faced sharp criticism in some corners, but many of your comments tell a different story. One user wrote, "I salute Zambia President HH," while another declared, "It's not true that President Hichilema persecuted former President Lungu, you just want to demonize him." These remarks show that a large portion of the public believes Hichilema is leading within the law, not against it. They reject the idea that this burial delay is a political witch hunt and instead see it as an effort to uphold national protocol and legal clarity. In contrast, the Lungu family is facing rising criticism. Multiple viewers have described their actions as selfish and politically motivated. One pointed out, Zambia is a country for all nationals and not a particular family, while another said bluntly, a family is not above a state. These sentiments reflect a growing public view that former presidents belong to the nation, not just to their families. The symbolism of state funerals matters, especially in African democracies where leaders often shape national identity. Refusing to participate in that protocol isn't just seen as personal, it's interpreted as political resistance. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable truth driving many of the online conversations: the unresolved legacy of corruption. Several commenters drew direct links between the burial dispute and the past governance failures under Lungu. One viewer stated, "This adamancy of the Lungu family and the Patriotic Front is because of the millions they have stolen." Another added, "Let them bring back billions they stole. Please don't be corrupt." Whether these claims are proven or not, they show that the Zambian public has not forgotten the controversies surrounding Lungu's administration. In fact, his death may be reviving calls for accountability and justice. Some commenters went even further, suggesting that the family is being used by political actors to reignite power struggles. The late president's party is influencing his family, so they gain political mileage, one viewer warned. Another called the situation stupid games, implying that the burial delay may be a stage-managed distraction designed to manipulate public opinion. This level of distrust is not just a Zambian issue. It reflects a wider skepticism toward political narratives across Africa.
And here's where investors should pay attention. Political uncertainty, legal indecision, and social division are all risk indicators. While Zambia has been praised by the IMF for its efforts in debt restructuring and macroeconomic reforms under President Hichilema, that progress can be undermined by stories like this. Investors are not just interested in policy, they are watching for signs of institutional stability. When courts, families, and governments appear locked in confrontation over something as sensitive as a presidential burial, it signals unresolved structural tensions.
For bond markets, donor agencies, and diaspora investors, this kind of crisis can shake confidence. Headlines like Zambia Court Blocks Burial of Former President raise questions about how other issues like land rights, judicial fairness, and contract enforcement will be handled. If political transitions remain unpredictable, capital tends to hesitate. And while Zambia's long-term outlook remains promising, this episode is a reminder that nation building requires more than reforms. It requires consistent application of the law, mature political discourse, and public trust. Ironically, Edgar Lungu's presidency often faced criticism for weakening the very institutions now being tested. His years in power saw claims of judicial interference, political persecution, and media control. Many of the legal and social gaps we see today are symptoms of that era. But this moment also presents an opportunity. If President Hichilema's government can navigate this crisis lawfully, transparently, and with emotional intelligence, Zambia could emerge stronger. It would prove that the country is ready to move beyond the politics of personality and into the era of institutional governance. At the African Reset, we believe that Africa's true test isn't just how leaders come to power, it's how they leave it. Death should be a moment for reflection and unity, not division and manipulation. Lungu's burial crisis is a mirror held up to Zambia and to all of us. It shows where we've made progress and where work remains. For the diaspora, it's a reminder that political stability is not built on silence, but on engaged citizenship. And for foreign investors, it's a signal. Watch how a country handles pressure, not just how it writes its plans. So, now we turn to you. Should the government have the final say over how a former president is buried, or should the family's wishes be honored above protocol? And as someone watching from abroad, what gives you more confidence in a country, charismatic leadership or resilient institutions? Let us know in the comments. And if you value honest, in-depth African analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another episode of the African Reset, where Africa rises, resists, and reforms.